All right, so this will be our lesson for S9, 10, and 11 on IXL. Coincidentally, it was 2.9, 2.10, 2.11 on OdysseyWare. This is on page 20C in your notes. So you actually do have this page of notes. It may not be super helpful. You might still want a separate page, but so we've been doing linear equations, and the big reminder here is slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So we're going to be asked to write equations. You've done that a little bit from a graph, but we're going to be asked to write equations in slope-intercept form given some kind of information. So the first ones are going to be pretty straightforward, I think you'll find. They will simply ask you they will tell you the slope and the y-intercept and ask you to write an equation. So that's what I would call easy peasy. You just plug them in. So remembering that y is equal to mx plus b. So if they tell me the slope is 5 and the y-intercept is -3, well, I know slope, that's m, and y-intercept is the b. So then I would just write y equals 5x minus 3. So I'm just replacing those two places. That tiny bit of information is going to get us a long way in S9. So we'll go over there and take a look so that you don't just have to trust me on that. All right, so I went over to IXL S9, and I see this first question they gave me says there's a line whose y-intercept is 5, so you have to pay attention. They told me the y-intercept first. That is the b. And the slope is 9. That is the m. So remember, y equals mx plus b. The one that's the slope goes with the x. So this would be 9x plus 5. So even if it's a positive, we need that sign there so that it doesn't just run into the 9x. So y is equal to, oh, sorry about that. Go back. Y is equal to 9x plus 5. So the one that says slope, that one goes in front of the x. You're always going to have to type y equal some number, then x, plus or minus something. So this time, a line's slope is 10. So y equals, the slope goes first in front of the x then, and then plus 6, because that's the y-intercept. Not really a lot of math to do, just inserting those two things in the right position. So now here the slope is 1, and you can type 1x plus 10, but I want to show you also, since it's just a 1, if I don't write anything, then it's understood that the slope is a 1. So in this case, it tells me the y-intercept is 0. So I can write y equal, so this is my b, this is my m, so -6x plus 0, or I could just type y equals -6x. Thanks, dear.
Thank you. I'll see you in the morning.
Alrighty. So I believe it will take it even if we put the plus 0, y equals negative 6x plus 0. Just know you wouldn't have to include the plus 0 since it is a 0. So in this case, it says it has a y-intercept of 6. So a y-intercept of 6 and a slope of 0. So this time it's the slope that's 0. So y equals 0x plus 6. And if there's 0 x's, I don't even need to write them. And this would just be y equals 6. This would be the simplest way to write that. I'm going to test it and see if IXL would take it if I wrote the 0. If I wrote y equals 0x plus 6. Okay, but just know it's the same thing as if I just wrote y equals 6. It would just be one of our horizontal lines from yesterday. So just remember, you can't just always put them in the order it says. You are always going to have y equals every time. You're going to have something here, well, almost every time. If it said the slope was undefined, you won't have a y equals, but you'll have something here, then an x, then a something. But this is the b, and this is the m. The slope goes in front of the x. So it's not in the right order. So you do have to actually read. And I think it would take it if you put plus negative 10. But typically in math, we would like to write things with as few characters as possible, because we like efficiency. So this would be y equals negative 9x minus 10. So the same reason, like you would not see that as 0x plus 6 on that last equation. You would just see y equals 6, because we like to keep it efficient and not use any extra characters if we don't need them. Now, once you get to S9, about 49 it looks like, things are going to change. I have the slope and I have a point, but that point is not the b, it's not the y-intercept. So I know that this is going to be y equal 1x, because that's my slope, but I need to figure out this number. And what I know is some other random point. So let's go back to our notes and see what we can do to figure that out. So in your notes, down here where it says if you know a point and the slope, you can find the b and write the equation. We can put some work there, but if you go back a page, maybe 2 pages actually, ta-da, it gives us all the steps on this page, which this page is pretty big. So you should have a page in your notes. I might be labeled like page 19 or something. 20A. Page 20A. That means I slipped some things in there. So page 20A. Up here at the top, go ahead and remind yourself of slope-intercept form. That's just where we're going to write y equals mx plus b. And maybe a reminder over here that m is slope and b is the y-intercept. I'm going to make that a capital B in my case, just because otherwise it looks dangerously like my 6's. Dangerously. So that's my y-intercept. All right, so in this specific problem, they're telling me the slope is 4, and it goes through this point, 2, 5. So my first goal is I just need to identify what's the slope. So in this case, that's easy. The slope is 4. All right, the slope is 4. I could write that over here, whatever. Now I'm going to use the point that I've been given to figure out what the b is. So I'm going to have to slide my page down. So that point, we know the slope is 4, and that point is 2, 5. 2, 5. So the point was 2, 5, and the slope, the m, was 4. So instead of writing this with blanks, I usually actually write out the equation y equals mx plus b, right? In this ordered pair, 2 is the x and 5 is the y. So now we're going to plug things in where they belong. So the y is that blank over on the left. This is supposed to be an equal sign, not a minus, by the way. So this is where the 5 belongs because it's y. M is 4 because we were told the slope is 4, and the x is 2. And then we're looking for what number would make this true. So if this equation works for the point 2, 5, it means I have to be able to multiply 4 times 2 and add something to it that would make the answer turn out to be 5. So 4 times 2 is 8. So what would I have to do to 8, adding and subtracting, to make it a 5? Well, you might just say, well, you'd have to take away 3. And you'd be right. But you can still treat it like an equation. I could do subtract 8 on both sides. And then get negative 3 is equal to b. So that b, that's my y-intercept. Now that I know m and b, it's an equation like we were working on earlier in the lesson. We just say y equals, stick the 4 in with the x, and the negative 3 in for the b. And that's my final answer. So the final answer still looks like my final answers before. So I'm going to use the slope that they've given me and the point. I'm going to plug, because y equals mx plus b has 4 variables in it. If I can plug numbers into 3 out of those 4, I can figure out the one that's missing. Then what I'm giving at the end is a rule for the whole line. It works for 2, 5, but it would work for any point on that line. So I go back to using just an x and a y, not the numbers for the x and y part, so that it looks just like our equations did before. So we're going to do another example on this same page. I know it's making some of you shudder because I see that it has a fraction. Oh gosh. All right. I'm here with you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So it's kind of written in really sloppy writing up there too. But the fraction here, the slope, I better put that back on pencil. The slope is negative 6 over 5. So that's my slope. I'm going to go ahead and just write y equals mx plus b and put everything under their positions. And my point is negative 5, 1. And I know this is x and this is y. So 1 is equal to negative 6 over 5 times negative 5 plus b. Some of you are having flashbacks to some of these problems that gave you trouble. Remember, you can always multiply the top times the whole number, then divide by the bottom. So in this case, if I do that, negative 6 times negative 5, positive 30 divided by 5 is 6. Nice whole number, positive 6. You could also use canceling, since there's a whole number 5 and this. They would both basically become 1s, but this guy would be a negative 1 because he had his negative sign. Then negative 6 times negative 1 also gives me 6. So now I have 1 is equal to 6 plus b. So just I'm going to have to scroll down, and then we'll finish solving for b. So 1 equals 6 plus b. I'm saying that as much for myself so that I remember where I was at. 1 equals 6 plus b. So I'm going to finish this solving for the y-intercept. 1 is equal to 6 plus b. I already did my m times x there. Now I want to get the b by itself so that I know what my y-intercept is. So negative 5 is equal to b. So then now I'm going to remember what was our slope. Our slope up there was negative 6 over 5. It was messy, but it was negative 6 over 5. Now I'm going to use that m and this b to write an equation. So y is equal to negative 6 over 5, that's my slope, times x, and then my b is negative 5. And that's my final answer. So now we can return, and you could put a couple of these problems. I'm going to do them on iExcel. All right, I'm going to do a couple more problems in S9 on iExcel, and you could put them right here where it says if you know a point and the slope. All right, so you can put them right there. Okay, so you can write your work right here. I'll be writing on the iExcel screen. So this is the slope and a point. So I would say start with your slope-intercept form, write it down. Over here I have 2, 7, so this is an x and a y, and I know this is m because he's the slope. So 7 is going to get put here where the y was. M is 1 times 2, because that's x, and then we're going to figure out this b. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 7 equals 2 plus something. Well, 2 plus 5, right? And sure enough, if we solve the equation, we get 5. So 5 is b. Now we know m, and we know b. Don't just type 5 in that box. Now you're going to type in the equation, y equals 1x plus 5, or as us math people would prefer to use less keystrokes because it's more efficient, I will just type in y equals x plus 5. So if it's 1x, if the slope is 1, I can just say x because we know that that represents 1x. It doesn't mean x is equal to 1. It means there's 1x, that its coefficient is a 1. So y, and I'll go away, discard box, y is equal to x plus 5. Now, when you're doing that, if you look back at the point, it should be true. If I take that x and plug it in, and I take that y, 7 equals 2 plus 5. Hey, that's true. It works. Sometimes common mistakes, if we just took that 10 seconds to see if it works, we would see like, oh wait, that doesn't work. I did something wrong. This time I think we're good. So again, this one's another one with a slope of 1. So there's my m, the 1. Here's my x and my y. So again, I'm going to start with writing y equals mx plus b. You might not find that you always need to write that, but it's a good habit to start with. So this is 1 times 4 plus b. So 2 equals 4 plus b. Well, looks like we'd have to subtract something to get, I got to get that 4 down, right? So it's going to make sense that we're going to get a negative number. So when I get the b by itself, sounds like I'm trying to get some enemy of mine in a dark alley, right? Get the b by herself. 2 minus 4 is -2. So b is -2 and m is 1. Plug those babies into that equation. So at the end, you go back to using y and x, those variables, because we're writing one rule. I'm going to go ahead and just write x because I know 1 times x is just x, and then -2. So y is equal to x minus 2. And if I'm going too fast, remember you can rewind me. It's kind of the nice thing. Some of you might prefer to watch me on video because you can rewind me, you can pause me while you try it yourself, all kinds of fun things. Okay, so maybe not exactly fun, but you know. All right, so this time, I know, the F word, we have a fraction. All right, so hold on. It wouldn't feel right if I didn't give you at least an example with a fraction. So again, y equals mx plus b. As always on these, this is my m. This is my b. Oh, well, I was about to make this harder than it is, because this one doesn't have a point in the slope. It's just a point, and it's the y-intercept. So, oh, what do you know? I already know y and b. So they're giving me a break here. After a couple of those questions, you might get a break where it's just back to plugging in the two numbers. So 1/3 x, I was all ready to do a harder problem. So 1/3 x minus 9, because they told me the y-intercept. They told me b. I don't need to find it if they told me. And they told me m, because that's slope. So it looks like another one. Slope is 1, y-intercept is 15. So if they tell me b and they tell me y, I don't have a point. I know, what's the point, huh? I don't need to, and I could put 1x plus 15. It's not going to mark it wrong, even though it's not the most efficient way. So if I saw just x plus 15, I also know that means the slope is 1. Passes through a point. So it's the ones with the points that are that say passes through a point. Ooh, hello. Passes through a point instead of just giving me the b. That's when we're going to have more work to do, because I don't know b. This is an x and a y. This is m though. So 0 is equal to 1 times 12 plus something. 0 equals 12 plus b. We'll subtract the 12 on both sides. And b must be -12, because I'd have to subtract 12 to get that down to 0. So then y is equal to, I could say 1x minus 12, or just y equals x minus 12. And if I use that for the point I have, the x is 12, 12 minus 12 does equal 0. So y is equal to x minus 12. Aha, now they've changed it up again on us. Now we don't know the slope. You guessed it, back to our notes. All right, back to our notes. So back to my notes. We need to figure out how we do it if we don't know the slope. So back to the fun page with the boxes. If I am given 2 points, remember you need the m and you need the b. So now if I'm given 2 points, they didn't give me either one of the things I want. I have to find the m first. Okay, I can't find the b until I know the m. So I have to find the m first. And remember your slope formula, which there's a spot to write at the top, is that we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the y's get subtracted on the top, the x's get subtracted on the bottom, and then you want to simplify, because it's going to make it a lot easier to find your b if you can simplify. So this is x1, y1 This is x2, y2. So I'm going to say 5 subtract negative 1. Remember the minus in the middle is part of the formula. And on the bottom, 2 subtract negative 1. So using my sign number rules, keep, change, change, that would make this a 6. Keep, change, change, that would make that a 3. Or if you just typed it in your calculator, you should get 6 over 3. When you divide 6 by 3, you get 2. So the m is 2. So my m here is a 2. And then you choose one of the 2 points to use. It is your choice. You could use -1, -1. You can use 2, 5. I promise it actually turns out exactly the same if you do it right, no matter which one of the 2 points you use. If I have a choice and I can avoid using negatives, that's what I'll do, just because typically people make more mistakes using a negative. So I'm going to choose the 2, 5. But if you want to choose -1, -1 and see if you get the same answer, great, because you should. So I'm going to put the 5 here, because remember it's the y is equal to 2 times x is 2. So there's 2 2's in there. So 5 equals 2 times 2 plus b. So 2 times 2 is 4. When I subtract 4 on both sides, I get that b is 1. So we found out that m is 2 and b is 1. Now I'm going to use those 2 pieces of information to write my equation. So m is 2 and b is 1. M is 2 and b is 1. Which means that if m is 2 and b was 1, y is equal to 2x plus 1. Now, you could check that on your other equation with your other point. The other point was -1, -1, right? Let's check and make sure that our equation works for that point too, because it should work for both of them. So -1 should equal 2 times -1 plus 1. 2 times -1 is -2, and -2 plus 1, woohoo, it is -1. So if you start with 2 points, a way to check your equation is to make sure that your equation is also true for your second point. And you don't necessarily have to write that down. A lot of times you can just kind of do that in your head, plug in the x on the right, and make sure the answer that you get is the same thing as the y number in the ordered pair. All right, so I'm going to go back to that IXL question. I'm not going to fill in this right-hand side. And you can put a couple IXL examples again back down here where it says if you know 2 points. We will not be doing things about general form. So where it says if you know 2 points, find the slope first, then find the b, write the equation. So it's like 3 steps. Find the slope, find the b, write the equation. So let's go back over to IXL, but this is where you could write down an example or 2. Alrighty, here we go. So back to this one. That was a new one for us. And I see 2 ordered pairs. That's how I know this is what I need to do, because I see 2 ordered pairs. So I need to find the slope first. And remember to find slope, subtract the y's on top and the x's on the bottom. So this is an x and a y. This is an x and a y. First point, second point. That's all the 1's and the 2's mean. It doesn't mean squared. It's not up in the air. It's subscript. So the way I have it written, I would be doing 18 minus 20 over 12 minus 16. So 18 minus 20, -2. 12 minus 16 is -4. And then let's go ahead and reduce. So when I reduce that, 2 negatives make a positive, and 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So this is m, 1/2. Next, so I said find the slope, then find the b. So next I'm going to find the b. I'm going to erase a little bit of this so we have some space here. So if I find the b, to do that I'm doing y equals mx plus b. I'm choosing one of the points. Doesn't matter which one, I'll just go ahead and choose this first one. So the y in that point is 20. The m here is 1/2. The x there is 16. And if you prefer to use parentheses around the 16 instead of the dot, it's the same. And then this is plus b. Sorry, it almost looked like an 8 there. So then 1/2 of 16 is 8. So 20 is equal to 8 plus b. So when I subtract 8 to get the b by itself, I find out that b is 12. Now I need to write my equation. Y equals, there's my m, always have an x, plus 12. So y is equal to 1/2 x plus 12. And then let's make sure that that works for the second point. What is 1/2 of 12? 6, yep. And 6 plus 12 is 18, and that is the same as that second y. So that confirms that our y equals 1/2 x plus 12 is correct. So y, discard, go back. Y is equal to 1/2 x plus 12. So this one I would have to do the same thing. I'd have to find my m, so I'm subtracting the y's on the top, whoops. So 17 subtract 17, and 0 subtract 10. 17 subtract 17 is 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. So if I try to do y equals mx plus b, I can. The y is 17 equals 0 times 10 plus b. 17 equals, oops, that's a b. 0 plus b would just be b, because 0 is times 10 is 0. So b must be 17. So y equals 0x plus 17. And that answer would be accepted. But remember, get in the habit of writing it the shortest way, because if you saw it like in a multiple choice, that would not be there. Okay? It would just say y is equal to 17. So anytime there's a 0 in the top of the slope, that means the line is perfectly flat. It's a horizontal line. And horizontal lines, their equation, the simplest way to write them is just y equals some number. All right, so that's going to get you through S9. I know that's a pretty long one. But that same strategy you're going to find is going to work for the other ones. So I'm going to put up another video, but it's going to be much shorter because we will be referring back to what I explained in this one.